Hi everyone, I'm Ben Myers, and I'm here with Ethan Loch.
Hello.
Is that sort of the correct pronunciation of your name?
Oh yeah, don't worry, that's correct, yes.
Okay. Alright, so I'm asking you a few questions. The first question, how did you feel about your performance? Were you satisfied with it?
Well, that's kind of hard to say. To be honest, the whole goal that I had with the performance was to show everybody the story of Chopin. He's so many beautiful stories from the Scherzo to the Polonaise to the Etudes. There's so many different stories to tell, and that's kind of always been my motivation for doing the music I do, because I always feel that music has its own story, and it's such a beautiful piano, and the amount of resonance on that thing is amazing. So
interesting.
I was really happy with it, because I thought I felt as if I told the story that I meant to tell, and that the piano had really helped me in that.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, because not many people actually talk about the piano itself. Which brands of pianos do you like? Do you find that they're different?
Well, it depends. I think that all of them are different. I've noticed, I'm not sure if this is kind of the same with all pianos, but I've noticed that Yamahas tend to be more articulative. So if you're playing Etudes, that's kind of more, so more of that thing. But kawaii pianos are kind of more resonant and beautiful, and that's the pianos I love for Chopin, because they tend to work with his bel canto singing sort of stuff. You know, when you play the piano, it's really important to make it sing when you're playing Chopin. But then I find that kind of Fazioli pianos are kind of in between. They have, and also Steinways are kind of they're kind of made for very powerful things, I think. So I would say that it depends on the music. If I'm playing Chopin, I'd like to play in a kawaii, but if I'm playing something like Rachmaninoff, sometimes the Steinway is pretty good, actually.
Very interesting. Yeah, so of course, I mean, you have a difference between all the other competitors, which they're blind. And I wonder, I mean, I know you've been blind since you were born, but, you know, it must be different learning pieces for you, for other people. So how do you, like, since you can't see the sheet music, how do you learn a piece? Well,
to be honest, the way that I learn the piece is purely through ear. So my brain's always had a very strong concept of harmony. Like, ever since I was, I remember when I was younger, my first memories would be learning the words C major, A minor, A major, and then I remember just hearing A minor is the sad key, and A major is the happy key, and then it just clicked, and ever since then I just remember I would do everything in keys. So every single time I learn a piece, I always think about the keys that the piece is in, and usually I find that these keys tell their own story from the different emotions and things. So that's kind of how I learn by ear. My brain kind of processes essentially the general harmony of the piece pretty well. For example, the sequences, and of course sometimes I have to go through the score to fully process all the different details in the piece, because sometimes I don't quite get them right. And for that I use readers. They basically read through different articulations and other stuff that I might have missed while hearing it, but for the most part I kind of just do it by ear.
Very interesting. Yeah, you're talking about harmony.
Oh yeah.
I think obviously in Chopin and all music, harmony is very important. Especially I think the Polonaise of 44 is a very interesting piece harmonically, right? Like in the middle section that kind of goes around the circle of fifths.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk a little about that? Since you're a composer yourself, of course, you must be very connected to harmony.
It's a really amazing thing, because it goes from the minor, the kind of do, da, 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 and to the beautiful A major section. I often think that that's done deliberately to showcase the contrast between kind of suspense, sadness, and happiness. But I often, you have that big march in A major, which is kind of,
I love that.
that's crazy. But then I think this Mazurka section, it goes through a different kind of pattern, such as the circle of fifths, to show all the beautiful atmospheres of Poland. Because you've got that Mazurka, and it's a beautiful dance, and then eventually, that you hear all these different voices joining in. It's almost as if it starts with one voice, and then the other voices join in the beauty of it. And then eventually, before it even has time to get back into A major again, it's interrupted by the terrifying threateningness of the war.
But it's also interesting because it seems like the theme of the A major Mazurka section is kind of similar to the theme of the Polonaise section, and then when at the end when the Polonaise interrupts, it's like one is morphing into the other.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost as if when you start the Polonaise, the dum da da do da da do da 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 do, I think that theme, it's almost as if it's fighting against the rhythm of the left hand, which is kind of the march. Dum. It's really cool. So I would say that the Mazurka theme is almost as if you're seeing the right hand melodies in freedom. And then when you have the Polonaise, that's when the right hand melody is competing with that other melody, with the marching of the people that they were fighting.
Yeah, so there's like a whole story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So do you often find like you think of a story when you're playing a piece?
Oh yes, yeah. That's one of the main things I think about. Because when you start with the suspensual introductory thing, that it's almost like I'm hearing Chopin saying, "All right, that's it. I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah. I'm
going to use the circle of fifths to." No, he's not that nerdy, of course. But I'm going to tell you a story, and this is how I'm going to do it. And then he goes into this huge detailed section. So first of all, I could hear the sounds of the people marching towards my beautiful country. And then eventually, and this is intertwined with such sadness. And then you got the middle section. It's almost as if the marching is in the distance, as if he's kind of running away from it. And then you got the Mazurka thing, which kind of sounds as if he's sort of reminiscing and remembering back. But then his memories are interrupted by the impending inevitableness of the sound of the marching, which comes back again. And then it ends with this really, really hopeless, sort of chilling ending.
Yeah.
The end. Oh yeah, and basically it's almost as if the end is, and there was nothing I could do. I just had to watch my country burn.
Oh, that's depressing. It's
depressing, but it's an important thing to remember because because people go through that, and it's a really impactful story, and it's important to remember that, I think.
So who are some of your favorite composers other than Chopin?
Well, I'm more of a romantic lover, so when it comes to pieces, I'm generally more of I kind of dwindle between Schumann, Rachmaninoff, sometimes Beethoven. I'm more like that sort of length, although I also like sort of jazz stuff, like Charlie Parker and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I always see melody and the concept of keys as the concept of story. And people like Rachmaninoff and Chopin, they're always telling serious stories. And Beethoven's very formal, and you've got the other classical period, and the Baroque period is basically a teacher presentation. Everything's figured out, and everything is kind of spelled out whenever you can. But then, of course, you've got jazz music, which it kind of reminds me of the difference between formal English and informal English. When you're formal, you're kind of, I don't know if this is the same here, but in Scotland, when you're formal, it's kind of like, I bequeath you to listen to my presentation. But then when it's informal, we're kind of more like, would you like a tatty scone, my laddie? And it's kind of like that with jazz music because the melodies are so much more relaxed and so much more distorted, just like in formal language. And that's why I think it's so amazing to listen to.
Very interesting. Yeah, it sounded like when you were in the green room for the performance, you were either improvising or playing some of your own compositions. Is that right?
Oh yeah,
those sounded amazing. So can you tell me some more about your own composition?
Well, my own compositions, they kind of go from the same basis. I've been writing a piano concerto, which again is a sort of way of me using tone to tell a story. The first movement, the second movement, the third movement, these are kind of contrasting movements. The first one is about my dream life, which is a bit crazy, I'm not gonna lie. In my dreams, crazy things happen to me. I get chased by demons, I swim through crazy seas full of acid and all sorts of horrible stuff. So the concerto in the beginning, it's a very kind of crazy, powerful sort of thing. But then the second part of the concerto is, my reflective state. And for that I use an E major key, which is a very, very slow sort of second movement. And then for the third movement, I call that my social life, where I'm outside and kind of chatting away. And for the third movement, I kind of make it very rhythmical and jazzy almost. But there's kind of a contrast because that time when you're socializing, you're kind of showing a different perception of yourself sometimes. Or at least I remember I used to. I don't really do that anymore. But when you then you come home from the social event and you're probably thinking, oh, how did that go? Maybe I should have said this. Maybe I should have said that. And then basically the way it ends is it ends with a repeat of the first theme in the first movement to show that I've managed to conquer all these demons in my dreams. There should be no reason why I should be afraid of being myself in public and talking to people. And basically I use the different repetitions of the melody to do that. And that's how I compose. I think, what am I trying to communicate? And I just think, okay, so for the keys and stuff, how I communicate.
Oh, very interesting. So the piano concerto, and then Weren't there some other compositions you're going to publish soon?
Yeah, I was thinking, there's this one composition that I had where I wrote, it was a waltz in C-sharp minor. And this particular piece was based off of a dream. And the dream was that I was sitting at a table in the center. And to my left, I could hear Chopin. And to my right, I could hear Johann Strauss.
Wow,
and they were both,
table to be.
Yeah, they were both composing this waltz together, but they were having an argument. They were kind of getting annoyed at each other because Chopin wanted this waltz to be full of lyricism and beauty. And Strauss, he was he wanted the beauty to come out of the rhythm, but Chopin wanted the sort of bendiness.
Yeah.
He wanted this particular waltz to be unforgettable. So they basically compromised, and they had Strauss right at the beginning, and Chopin right in the middle section. And then unfortunately they didn't finish it. So when I woke up, I basically decided to finish it.
Well,
that's
great.
The waltz.
I wish my dreams were that coherent.
Oh, I don't think you do. I'm not even gonna lie. You probably do.
So who are some of your favorite pianists to listen to? I know like Horwitz, right?
Yeah, Horwitz is one of my favorites because I think he really gives an entertaining spin to the story. You know, it's the same way that I find someone entertaining talking about a tragic subject. You know, they have a lot of lighthearted humor to it, and you know, when Horwitz is talking about, I remember hearing the Polonaise, and it's very lighthearted, very humorous.
The Opus 44 Polonaise.
Yeah, the 44 Polonaise.
Oh, that's interesting because I wouldn't really think of that the way he played it. I just thought it sounded very dramatic.
Oh yeah, it was very dramatic, but I think in some respects there was some beautiful light touches that he put, like for example the octave section.
Yeah, I noticed you played that very kind of slow and lyrical way.
Oh yeah, that's not how he plays it, by the way.
Yeah,
but yeah, he almost kind of tells it in a very dramatic, very entertaining way, I think. But I also love Zimmerman for Chopin because he's very lyrical, and well, the things that I like the best is his Ballade No. 4 because it's very melodic and very lyrical.
His, I think, is the longest version of that Ballade.
Oh,
really stretches it out.
Oh yeah,
which sounds like you do that as well, which I like.
Yeah,
yeah.
Although there's some things that I don't do that he does, but yeah. And also, yeah, but I think apart from that, different pianists for different things, I think. I'd say.
Very interesting. Questions? Have you ever played any other instruments as well as piano?
Well, I did actually play the accordion for a portion of my life. Yeah, but the thing is, because I have the brain that I have, which hears harmonies as if they're eating dinner. Unfortunately, with accordion, because I was really young when I was 7 when I started, I only had 24 basses, which only allowed me to play in 8 keys, which was such a tragedy to me.
I don't really know how accordion works, but it has like the keyboard for the melody.
Basically, the way the accordion works is you have to carry it, so it gets bigger each size you go up. So because I was small, I was limited to only 8 keys.
Oh, okay.
And you can imagine how frustrating that would be.
Yeah.
And then as I got old, I think I probably would have been able to carry a full size now. But the thing with accordion is, I got to grade 8, but unfortunately, I thought, you know what, I'm really passionate about piano, and the thing is, you can't do 5 hours of piano and then 5 hours of accordion.
Yes,
it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I decided to give it up at 12, and I decided just to stick to the piano.
Okay.
That doesn't mean to say that I don't occasionally pick it up now and again, though.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it. It's a very fun instrument.
Yeah. Yeah, and that last thing you said, I was also going to ask how long you took with practice per day. Oh. So is it 5 hours?
I don't know if you can guess that, but you know, it's generally 5 hours. Although I've noticed that as I've gotten technically more secure, I've kind of needed to practice a little bit. Sometimes I do 3 hours. Occasionally I do 5 again, but I mostly focus on musicality, and I find that if you're practicing too long on a piece, it can kind of go stale, and you kind of lose what you're trying to communicate.
So you mentioned Charlie Parker, Ethan.
Oh yeah.
So what are your favorites, or how is it different playing jazz on a piano rather than classical pieces?
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's just more fun because with classical pieces, you can hear from the melody that it's very dramatic, very chromatical and all that stuff. But with jazz pieces, there's a beat, there's a rhythm, and you're kind of dancing and you're enjoying it. And it's kind of the same as a mazurka, I'd say, similar. But with a jazz piece, you can kind of hear yourself in the bar. And I remember when I was playing Billy's Bounce, by Charlie Parker, that kind of and it's good. It's important to have a good sense of fun, I think, when playing it. Just kind of playing around with it and enjoying it.
Of course, there's a lot of improvisation in jazz. So do you find that you can also kind of improvise a more classical style?
I would say, yeah, I would say classical style is the improvisational thing that I'm mostly comfortable with, because I would say it almost kind of does, it depends on my personality, because my personality tends to be very much more serious. You know, I tend to be a bit more dramatic myself, so when I improvise, I kind of mimic the serious sounding notes. But I do enjoy improvising in jazz as well, because it's a beautiful, it's a really amazing way of making music fun, and that's why people love listening to it.
Anything you want to tell the world, Ethan? Or any last remarks?
I'd probably say, for anybody else doing music, just remember the story you're telling, and remember what you're doing. Remember what you're communicating, and the truth is, people need to hear it. So always follow where you want to go, and make sure that you don't let anything else get in the way of that. I think that's it.